Hello guys, this is Paul McWhorter with TopTechBoy.com, and we're here today with episode number 53 in our incredible new tutorial series where you're teaching your Raspberry Pi who's boss. What I'm going to need you to do is pour yourself a nice tall glass of ice cold coffee. That would be straight up black coffee poured over ice, no sugar, no sweeteners, none needed. And as you're pouring your coffee, as always, I want to give a shout out to our friends over at Sunfounder. Sunfounder is actually sponsoring this most excellent series of video tutorials. And in this class, we will be using the Sunfounder Raphael kit for Raspberry Pi. Now, most of you guys probably already have your gear, but if you don't, look down in the description. There is a link over to Amazon. You can hop on over there and get your gear. And believe me, your life and my life are going to be a whole lot easier if we are working on identical hardware. But enough of this shameless self-promotion. Let's jump in and talk about what I am going to teach you today. What I'm going to do is I'm going to show you my solution to the homework assignment that I gave you in lesson number 52. So first of all, how many of you guys were successful? If you were successful, leave a comment down below. I am legend, double chest bump. And if you were not successful, leave a comment down below. I folded up like a cheap Walmart lawn chair. Now, I hope most of you got it because really it was a pretty straightforward extension of the different things that I taught on how to track on color and how to do track bars. And then you're kind of just bringing those two lessons together in one. But indeed, it is very good practice. Okay, so enough of this talking. Let's jump over here and see if we can actually jump in and start coding. So I will come over here and I will get out of your way. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to program this thing up. As usual, we don't want to start from scratch, so we will come over here to www.toptechboy.com. You'll want to find this program calculating frames per second. You can use the happy little search bar, and then you should come up with this lesson. We'll come down here, we'll click on the little two-page icon. We have copied it. We will come back over here and we will paste it. Okay, so that looks pretty good. Let's just run it to make sure the universe is in proper working order, and boom, there it is. I think you guys know by now that I don't like to call my image IM. I like to call it frame, so I'm going to change that. And then I'm going to put the text on frame, and then I am going to display frame. And that way I'm just always thinking in terms of my data set is a frame, if that makes sense. Now, what was the homework assignment? The homework assignment was to track your object of interest based on color, but to train OpenCV to tune in your parameters using what? Using Trackbars, okay? And so I think we are ready to jump in here, and what are we going to have to do? We are going to have to create our Trackbars. So I'll come, this looks like a convenient place in the code before we start our while loop, and I'm just going to jump in and I'm going to start defining my Trackbars. Well, if I'm going to make a Trackbar, I've got to have a window to put the Trackbar in, so I'm going to go ahead and create that. So I'm going to say cv2.named window, and that will just create an empty OpenCV window, and we'll call it my tracker, like that. Close the string and close that. Now I've got a window into which I can put my track bars. So I'm going to do a cv2.create track bar. And what is my first one going to be? Well, I'm going to get my hue low value. Where do I want to put this track bar? I want to put it in the window that I just created, my tracker, like that. And then what else do I need? I need to give it a start value. Well, what would be a good start value? I'm going to start for a low hue value of 10. Okay, that'll be my start value, or that'll be the initial value. And then how far do I want this track bar to go? Well, remember, hue goes from 0 to 179, so we need to put the maximum value it can have at 179. Now I have to define the function, or I've got to name the function that I'm going to go to if you mess with this track bar. I'm just to make it easy, I'm just going to call them on track, and this is going to be on track 1. So if I mess with the hue low track bar, it's going to send me to on track 1. We'll come back in a minute and we will set up these on tracks, but for right now we are going to need how many of these track bars? Well, hue low, hue high, sat low, sat high, val low, val high, 6. So I'm just going to paste 5 times, 3, 4, 5, 6, like that. So now I have all of those. Let's come in, and the function's going to be on track 1, on track 2, on track 3, on track 4, on track 5. Those are going to be the functions I've got to define in a minute. Now on hue low, it's going to start at 10 and go to 179, and then this would be hue high, like that, and that similarly would go from 10 to 179, let's say. Or I'm sorry, let's set the high at least higher than the low, so let's set it to like 30. Okay, and now on track 3, hue, this would be sat low. Okay, and if that's sat low, then this is going to be sat high. Okay, and so now we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We've got all of those taken care of. 10, initial value of 10 go to 179, initial value of 30 go to 179, and then on my saturation low, I like to start at about 100, but then we got to remember this goes all the way up to 255, so we've got to put that as a limit. On my sat high, I'm going to go ahead and start all the way at 255, and the maximum value is 255. Go back and watch those earlier track bar lessons if I'm going too fast for you. So we have hue low, hue high, sat low, sat high. Now I'm going to have val low, and I'm going to have val high, val low, val low, val high, and then the val low, I'm going to start it at about 100, and then this goes all the way up to 255. My initial value on the high, I'm going to go all the way up to 255, and then the maximum value is 255. And so, man, I think I have my track bar set up. I think I've got my track bar set up. But now we have to not forget, we've got to be diligent and not forget what? We got to create those functions now. Okay, we got to create those functions. And so let's just jump in and start defining our functions. So I am going to define, and then what is my first function? It is down here. We called it on track 1. So I'm going to define on track 1. Okay, I'm going to define on track 1. And what do I do when I mess with hue low? When I mess with that first track bar, hue low, it's going to go out and it is going to go to the function on track 1. When it goes to on track 1, it's going to grab the value from that track bar. I've got to put it somewhere. I'm going to put it in the generic variable val. And now I've got to define the function. Well, on track 1, this function on track 1 knows what val is. None of the rest of the program knows what val is. So I'm going to create a global variable that everyone will know about. I'm going to call it hue low, but now I've got to tell it what hue low is. Hue low is equal to, it's equal to that val that I just grabbed. And now, just to help in debugging, I'm going to print what? I'm going to print hue low that I just got, okay, and then what is the variable? Hue low, like that. Okay, so I have that first function on track 1 defined. So now what do I need to do? I need 6 of these. So I think it would be helpful to copy and paste. So I have 1, now I have 2, now I have 3, now I have 4, now I have 5, now I have 6. And just to make sure I did that right, let's go ahead and name them. So I've got on track 1, and then we'll edit the rest of it later, but on track 2, on track 3, on track 4, on track 5, and on track 6. And those just match all of these function calls. So I called 6 different functions. I've got to go define those 6 different functions. On track 1 is hue low, hue low, hue low. Well, on track 2 is going to be what? The high value, hue high. And then we've got to change this to hue high. And then this is going to be hue high. And then this is going to be hue high. Okay, so we've done hue low, we've done hue high. Track val 3 is hue sat. Okay, so this is going to be sat low. This is going to be sat low. This is going to be sat low. And this is going to be sat low. I think it is faster to copy and paste. What do you think? If that's sat low, then this one is going to be sat high. Sat high. And then this is going to be sat high. And sat high. We are getting through those 4. Okay, hue, sat, now what? Val. So this is going to be val low, val low, val low, and this is going to be val low. And now finally we are going to have val high, val high, and then val high. Okay, so now I've got the track bars set up and I've got the function set up. I'm kind of thinking that I could probably run it at this point just to get rid of my silly errors and make sure that this thing is going to kind of have the typo type errors out. So let's go ahead and hold our breath and run it. Okay, well, we've got this that came up, and then we've got the track bars. Okay, and then what I need you guys to look at is I need you to look down here and see if I change these track bars, if the things work right. So let's change hue low, and you can see hue low is going from 0 to 179. And then I've got hue high changing. I have sat low changing. Sat high changing, val low changing, and val high changing. And so guys, do you see, like, we've gotten all of the kind of skeleton of the program put together and it's working. So now it should be pretty easy to come on in and finish this thing and getting it to do what we want it to do. Okay, so what do we want to do? We want to track on an object of interest. So now, based on those values, based on those parameters that define that kind of slice of the cake that we want to keep, we've got to go in and now see if we can grab that slice of the cake. So we're going to come down here, and what did we do? We have our frame now. Okay, we have our frame, and that is good. And then we put the frame, we've got the frame, and we put the text on the frame. So now let's come in and start doing our magic. We've got to define that slice of the cake we want to keep. So we're going to have a lower bound, and that lower bound is going to be a numpy.array. This is open the function call, open the array. What is the lower value? It's low, hue, low, sat, and low val, like that. Okay, close the array, close the call. Now if we're going to use NumPy, we better import the library up at the top. So we're going to come back up here and we're going to say import NumPy as NP, right? Okay, so now it will know what that is. If we have a lower bound, we're going to need an upper bound. and that's np.array. And that is going to be, did I do that right? I think I might have done that wrong. Val low. Yeah, I did that wrong. It's hue low. Sat low and val low. I hope you guys were yelling at me, but I caught it before I ran it. Okay, then we'll come here. We will open the array, and this will be hue high, sat high, and val high. Close the array, close the function call. And we need to spell upper, right? We have an upper bound and we have a lower bound. But now, if we are going to go in and try to create a mask, we can't do it in the RGB color space. We've got to do it in the what? HSV color space. So we're going to go frame. HSV is HSV is equal to what? CV2 dot, how do I do that? I need to say CV2.CVT color. So I'm going to convert the color. I'm going to convert the color of what? I'm going to start with frame, and then I'm going to do a CV2 dot color underscore, and let me make sure you guys can see that, color underscore, and I'm going to go from the BGR to the HSV color space like that. So now I have my frame in what? I have my frame in the HSV color space. Now that I have my frame in the HSV color space, and I have an upper bound and a lower bound, I can what? I can create my mask. And my mask is going to be CV2.inRange. So the mask is going to be grabbing the pixels that are in the range. In range of what? Well, it needs to be in the range from, well, first of all, what are we looking at? We're looking at frame HSV. So I'm going to look at frame HSV, and I'm going to keep everything that is between lower bound and upper bound, like that. Okay, so now I have a mask. Now I want to display that mask, so I'm going to make a smaller one just to make it easier to display. So my mask small is equal to CV2.resize. And then what am I going to resize? I'm going to resize my mask. My mask stays the same size. It's just now there's a new mask called my mask small. It's going to be my mask. And then how do I want to do it? I've got to give it a tuple. Okay, and this one is going to want the width and then the height, right? It wants X and then Y when we're doing OpenCV commands. I've opened the tuple. Now it's going to be int of display width divided by 2. So I'm making it half as big, comma, int display height divided by 2. And then I've closed the int, closed the tuple, and then closed the function call. I think for just good measure, I'm going to go ahead and see if I can display that. So I'm going to say cv2.im_show. What do I want to show? My mask. And then which one I'm going to show? My mask small. Okay, so now I have my mask, right? Now that I have my mask, I want to create my object of interest, right? And how do I do that? Because what is this mask? This mask is If something is between the upper bound and lower bound on that mask, the pixel is going to be white. If it's not between upper bound and lower bound, that mask is going to be black. But now I want to create a new frame, and that new frame just shows my object that I want. So how do I do that? I AND the mask with the original image. So now my object is going to be an AND between the original frame and the mask. So my object is going to be equal to cv2.bitwise underscore and then what do I want to AND? Well, I've got to have frame, and for some reason you put frame in twice. That is my original picture, right? And now what mask am I going to use? Mask is equal to my mask. I'm using the full-size mask. That my mask small is just to make it easy to display. Okay, so now I have ANDed the mask with the image, and now I should only end up with what? My object of interest. Okay, now what are we going to come down and do? We are going to come down and we're also going to show that. So I'm going to say cv2.imShow. What I'm going to show my object. Okay, and then I'm going to make my object small too, just so that it displays better. My object small is equal to cv2.resize. And what am I going to resize? I am going to resize my object. And then I'm going to grab this tuple up here because it should be the same. Control C. It should be the same, so I'll just paste that in there. Okay. And then it's all closed up. Good. So I'm going to show my object, close the string, and then it's going to be my object small. Okay, it doesn't like something up here. Okay, I closed the int and I closed the tuple, but I didn't close the resize. Okay, so now let's hold our breath and let's run it. All right, we got some action here, so let's see if we can get our windows organized. And guys, you guys that are just using one screen could do some move window commands and get this to kind of come out nicer. Okay, here I'm going to put my object up here, and then I'm going to put my tracker over here, and then I'm going to put my mask here. Okay, so I'm not tracking anything. I am not seeing anything. What does that mean? Between the lower bound and the upper bound across this whole image, nothing fits the profile, and so the mask is empty, and my object is empty. But now let's put this in here, and look at that. We are already almost tuned in on that. But let's see if we can just tune it in absolutely perfectly. Guys, I kind of guessed lucky, didn't I, on that one? Okay, look at that. Boom, giddy up. We are tracking on an object of interest. Now, it's not very impressive because I just happened to guess something that worked pretty well to begin with. But let's go to a different object of interest. Let's come here. Okay, that one we are going to have to adjust to see it. Like I'll come down and then I'll come down. You see now, if you look up in the upper right, it's kind of picking up my hand. So I need to tune out my hand. I can probably also tune out my hand by bringing this up a little bit and this up a little bit, and then oh my goodness, almost perfect. Look at that. Got another object of interest. Okay, let's see what would be real hard. It would be hard to do green on green, right? That would be real hard. So I probably can't really do that, but let's come up here and see. Wow. Look at that. Do you see this green is different enough from the green on the green screen that I can actually track that? Man, I'm just getting kind of obsessive compulsive. How about purple? Do you think I can? The difference between my purple shirt and this purple is probably going to be hard, but let's see if we can do it. I'm kind of getting the purple there. Maybe I need to turn down the sat. Yeah, look at that. I'm kind of amazed. I'm actually kind of amazed that I can do this. And you can see that because of the reflections, there's a lot of different colors on that cup. All right, guys, giddy up. Is that not cool or what? So we're doing our first little bit of artificial intelligence. And how are we doing that first little bit of artificial intelligence? We are tracking an object based on color, and we're able to go in and dial in on the object that we want to track using track bars. Okay. So right now what we can do is we can see our object of interest moving around, but OpenCV doesn't really know mathematically where our object is. And so if I put a little color on my finger and wanted to track my finger position, which might be something that would be very useful to do, if I look at my object of interest, I can see it moving around. I've isolated, but I don't mathematically have its position in OpenCV. And so that's what we're going to learn how to do next week. We're going to learn how to use contours where you can, once you've found your object of interest, you can mathematically track its position. And so that is what we are going to be doing next week. And it's pretty fun, and we're kind of really getting to the point of doing some pretty cool stuff here. I hope you guys are having as much fun taking these classes as I am making them. If you enjoyed the lesson, give us a thumbs up. If you don't mind, leave a comment down below, because that always helps us with the old YouTube juice. If you haven't subscribed to the channel already, subscribe. When you do, ring that bell and you'll get notifications of our future video releases. And as always, share this video with other people, because the world needs more people doing engineering and fewer people sitting around watching silly cat videos. Paul McWhirter with TopTechBoy.com. I will talk to you guys later.